In the heart of the 16th century, a young emperor sat on a precarious throne. His name was Akbar, and his fledgling Mughal Empire was a patchwork of conquered territories, held together by the sharp edge of a sword. But he knew, with a wisdom that belied his years, that swords alone could not build a lasting dynasty. For that, he would need something far more subtle, something that could turn bitter enemies into loyal family. He would need to master the art of marriage, not as a sacrament of love, but as the ultimate tool of imperial power. This is History and Society, where we break down how power and belief systems shaped human history. The early Mughal rulers, from Babur to Humayun, faced a monumental political problem. They were outsiders, a Turco-Mongol military elite attempting to govern the vast, diverse, and fiercely independent subcontinent of India. Their authority was new, their legitimacy questioned, and their control extended only as far as their armies could march. They were conquerors, not yet sovereigns, in a land that had a long history of absorbing and resisting foreign invaders. This fundamental challenge of legitimacy and control would define the first century of Mughal rule. Military conquest alone was proving to be a tragically insufficient strategy for empire building. While Mughal armies were formidable, capable of winning decisive battles and seizing territory, these victories were often fleeting. The moment the main army moved on, local chieftains and regional powers would simply rise up in rebellion, challenging the fragile Mughal authority. Governing India was not just about winning wars, it was about securing the peace, a task that required more than just brute force. It demanded a way to make the conquered feel invested in the new order. Faced with this cycle of conquest and rebellion, a young Emperor Akbar made a revolutionary decision. He would not just defeat his enemies, he would absorb them. He decided to institutionalize marriage alliances as a cornerstone of state policy. This was not a novel idea in itself, as royal marriages had always been a part of diplomacy. But Akbar's vision was grander. He would create a systematic empire-wide program of political matchmaking designed to weave the powerful, independent Hindu Rajput clans directly into the fabric of his Muslim dynasty. The first and most significant of these alliances was with the Rajputs of Amber. By marrying Jodha Bai, the daughter of Raja Parmal, Akbar initiated a profound process of Rajput integration through kinship. This marriage was a public declaration. It signaled that the Rajputs would not be treated as vanquished subjects, but as partners in the new imperial project. They were no longer just adversaries to be subdued. They were becoming family, bound by the most sacred of ties. A crucial element of this strategy was the retention of local power and autonomy for the allied Rajput clans. When a Rajput king gave his daughter or sister to the Mughal emperor, he was not surrendering his kingdom. Instead, he was securing his throne. His lands, his titles, and his right to govern his own people were guaranteed by the imperial center. In exchange for their loyalty and military service, these rulers maintained their ancestral domains, transforming from potential rebels into pillars of the Mughal state. This policy also served a vital purpose in religious accommodation in the quest for legitimacy. By marrying Hindu princesses and allowing them to practice their faith within the confines of the imperial palace, Akbar sent a powerful message of tolerance. This was a direct appeal to his overwhelmingly non-Muslim subjects, demonstrating that the Mughal emperor was not merely a Muslim conqueror, but a ruler for all of India's peoples. This act of religious magnanimity helped to build a broader base of support and legitimized his reign in a way military victories never could. At its core, Akbar's marriage strategy was a brilliant form of elite co-optation. He identified the most powerful and potentially disruptive groups within his realm, the warrior aristocracy of Rajasthan, and gave them an offer they could scarcely refuse. Instead of facing the might of the Mughal army, they could join the most exclusive club in the empire. They gained prestige, security, and access to the immense wealth and power of the imperial court, all in exchange for their allegiance. The imperial household, or harem, was transformed into a sophisticated political institution. It was no longer just the private domain of the emperor. It became a microcosm of the empire itself, a vibrant, multicultural space where the politics of kinship played out daily. The presence of Rajput queens and their relatives at court created a permanent channel of communication and negotiation between the provinces and the capital, ensuring that the concerns of these powerful allied families were heard at the highest level. The system created powerful incentives for cooperation. For a Rajput chieftain, an alliance with the Mughals meant unparalleled opportunities for advancement. His sons and kinsmen could receive high-ranking positions, or mansabs, in the Mughal army and administration, gaining wealth and influence far beyond what their small kingdoms could offer. The path to power no longer lay in resisting the Mughals, but in joining them. This strategic alignment of interests was the true genius of Akbar's policy. Simultaneously, the policy served to isolate non-cooperative rivals. Rajput states like Mewar, which stubbornly refused to enter into marital alliances with the Mughals, found themselves politically and militarily encircled. Their neighbors, now Mughal allies, were obligated to fight for the emperor against them. This divide and conquer strategy, facilitated by kinship ties, effectively neutralized the most defiant pockets of resistance, leaving them with few allies and dwindling resources. The royal women at the center of these alliances were far from passive pawns. They were active mediators of power. Queens, like Jodabai, wielded considerable influence, acting as crucial intermediaries between their natal families and the Mughal court. They managed vast estates, patronized art and religion, and advised the emperor, ensuring that the interests of their Rajput kin were protected. Their presence helped to smooth over cultural and political friction, making the integration of diverse elites a more seamless process. Over time, these initial alliances solidified into multi-generational loyalty networks. The children born of these unions were of mixed heritage, embodying the synthesis of Mughal and Rajput bloodlines. These princes, nephews, and grandsons of Rajput kings felt a dual allegiance, tied by blood to both the imperial dynasty and their ancestral clans. This created a deep, personal, and enduring bond that transcended mere political calculation and lasted for generations. The most tangible consequence of this diplomatic masterstroke was a dramatic reduction in rebellion and the associated enforcement costs. With the powerful Rajput clans now serving as the empire's loyal sword arm, the need for constant, costly military campaigns in Rajasthan diminished. The Mughals could divert their resources to other frontiers, expanding and consolidating their empire, secure in the knowledge that their heartland was stable and defended by their own family. However, this delicate system of marriage diplomacy began to break down under the reign of Emperor Aurangzeb in the late 17th century. A devout and orthodox Muslim, Aurangzeb reversed many of Akbar's policies of religious tolerance. He reimposed the jizya tax on non-Muslims and alienated his Rajput allies, viewing the alliances with suspicion rather than as a strategic asset. His actions shattered the trust that had been built over a century, reigniting the very conflicts that Akbar's policies had been designed to prevent. The long-term impact on Mughal stability was profound. The system of marriage alliances had been a key pillar supporting the imperial structure. Its erosion under Aurangzeb weakened the empire from within, stripping it of its most reliable military partners and creating widespread dissent. When the Rajputs, once the staunchest defenders of the throne, turned against the empire, it marked the beginning of the end. The intricate tapestry of kinship, so carefully woven by Akbar, had begun to unravel, contributing significantly to the eventual decline of the once mighty Mughal Empire.